Welcome back to Shib Planet. That's right guys, Shibarium is coming, and apparently we have less than 40 days from the date of this video until the approximate time when the main developers intend to release Shibarium to the public. Today's video is going to be jam-packed with some juicy updates which you're not going to hear anywhere else. Firstly, I managed to get access to the Discord server of Unification, who are the main developers responsible for producing and releasing Shibarium. I'm going to show you some updates of what we now know, what they're up to and how much has been done. And this wouldn't be a Shib Planet video if I didn't get all nerdy on you guys again. So I did some research on some prominent layer 2 solutions, so I should be able to give you guys some details of what we can expect in terms of the type of layer 2 which Shibarium will be. And if you're patient with me till the end, I'll show you my mock-up version of the Shibarium Blockchain Explorer. I'll also discuss what I think is the best way for the community to get together to get the most out of Shibarium, which is going to be the future backbone of the full Shiba Inu ecosystem. Welcome back to Shib Planet everyone, this is Ace. We've been hearing about Shibarium for months now and it's been trending on social media a lot lately. But what do we really know? Today I'm going to show you guys what I found and also give you some information so we can also temper our expectations. Alright guys, let's get right to it. As of today, there are less than 40 days left before the end of Q3. And why is this important? Well, it's because according to the most recent Medium article from Unification, Shibarium was actually slated for a Q3 release, which gives us until the last day of September 2022. And thanks to Shib Army Canada from Twitter for summarizing this specific quote from Unification over here. In his tweet he says, "Today there are only 40 days left before the end of Q3." And here's a snapshot from the previous article. It reads, "The Shibarium public beta testnet is planned for deployment in Q3 to coincide with the fund testnet upgrade, which includes the much anticipated IBC, Gravity, WFund updates. The public beta testnet will allow parties to fully interact with the network, including the validation process." And I believe the fund testnet upgrade which they're talking about was recently finished, which means that technically they should be now working on Shibarium at the moment. And it looks like they are, because the developers recently opened a special channel on their Discord for people to ask and get information about Shibarium. The channel on their Discord is called Shibarium Delirium, which is pretty funny. And don't worry guys, I managed to get access, so let's take a look at what's been discussed so far. Unfortunately, I have to admit, there weren't many specific answers regarding Shibarium as at the time of this recording, but I did notice a lot of people were speaking about things about X-Fund and some other developer jargon, which I don't think was particularly helpful to a Shibarium video. But here are a few clips. First I'll show you some from our own developers on the Shiba Inu Discord. According to Trophias, and these came from around July, this is what he says. As you guys know, typically the developers have been pretty tight-lipped about further details about Shibarium. Trophias often says, "I can't talk about Shibarium at the moment." But recently he did say, "Shibarium documentation is ongoing and the structure of the docs is set. We just need the info dump at this point. For the most part, minus some adjustments along the way. Design and user interface is still ongoing though as well. It'll take some time." And in answering a question about the relationship between X-Fund and Shibarium, this is what he responded. He said, "X-Fund devs are supporting our devs. For our devs are the leads on Shibarium. They are just helping us build, as X-Fund is the Oracle service." So basically X-Fund is the Oracle service, and you know, and they help the Shibarium, you know, devs who are our devs to build Shibarium. And now for some clips from the actual Unification server. This is what they said. Somebody asked, "Is Shibarium still on track for Q3 release?" And the response was, "Supposed to be." And I do think at this stage most people in there were community members anyway. I did see one developer, but yeah, there weren't many comments specifically about Shibarium regarding there. The next question or comment was, "Yes, normally the public beta is released in Q3 and we're waiting for an announcement." And somebody else comments, "Only 39 days left in Q3 for Shibarium release." And then I think after that, somebody asked a question. He says, "What I understood, the upgrade of Fund Testnet made it possible to create a bridge between L1 Shiba, and Bone, etc. to L2 Shibarium sidechain, and made it possible to import data to Shibarium from other sidechains, which is the prevailing understanding. I think I have a similar understanding as well, to which one of the developers does respond, or is actually a validator on that chain. He responds and he says, in the first step, there will be a bridge between Unification Testnet and Gravity Testnet. After that, we will see how it is. Gravity chain is for the Ethereum bridge. And the final fairly relevant comment I found was when somebody asked, how much Bone will I need to operate a transaction on Shibarium? And the response was, we don't know yet. The only information we have is that it's supposed to be cheap. And I'll speak more about that later. So to summarize what we know so far, Satoshi last said that he expects that Shibarium should be released by the latest of end of summer or early of fall. And to me, this puts us at the end of September, which lines up pretty much with exactly what Unification is also saying. And upon release, I do believe that the public should be able to test it out. And I anticipate that the Shibarium Hackathon will be either announced, either close to the date or, on the date. And for those of you guys who remember, the Hackathon is an incentivized event for developers from all around the world to start testing and building various applications on Shibarium. And I think it's important to clarify one common misconception. Some people think that once it goes live, that everything will immediately change and all SHIB transactions will automatically be on Shibarium. But that's not how it works. Basically, it's Shibarium is a new blockchain. So any assets which, all SHIB assets, they currently exist on Shibarium. So any assets and applications and tokens will either have to be migrated over manually via like a bridging portal, which I believe is currently under development and will probably be one of the first things released alongside Shibarium. Or the other option is applications would have to be built directly, on Shibarium with a bridging portal to bridge them back to Ethereum. Okay guys, let's move on to some preliminary analytics. This is L2Beat, which is a service which lists and ranks some of the most well-known layer 2s on Ethereum. And at the moment, Ethereum layer 2s have a combined TVL of about $5.2 billion. And some of the popular ones, which some of you guys know from this list, are Arbitrum 1, Optimism, Loopring, you may have heard of that, ZK Sync, Immutable X, and pretty much what this site does is just it lists all of them here, lists them by TVL. You'll notice that the top two hold approximately 80% of all of the majority of the TVL. And they also give a rough breakdown of what kind of tokens are on there. Anyway, in terms of TVL, when ShibaSwap launches and goes live and is all stable, I personally would rank Shiba Inu probably within the top 10, and that's based on ShibaSwap's current TVL, which hovers between 40 million and 70 million based on the recent market conditions. So that would definitely put it in easily within the top 10. At least beating number 10 and number 9. And I actually think it could rank higher because once the Shibarium financial ecosystem launches, if you guys remember, Ryoshi's initial plan was to have various liquidity pools on places such as Curve and on Compound and Aave and places like that. And I think this TVL would also be added to that screen I showed you previously over time. Anyway, back to that list, you'll also notice that Polygon isn't listed over here. And except like maybe towards the bottom here where it shows Polygon Hermes. And I think that's because Polygon actually has many different type of layer 2s and they're often customized for different functions, and some of them are even private. Also, each layer 2 actually uses a different type of technology, to transfer transactions onto Ethereum, and this happens based on what they do to the transactions before they commit them back to Ethereum for final settlements. As most of you guys know, the most common types are optimistic rollups, ZK rollups, Validium. There's also Plasma, and those are pretty much some of the more common ones. And I'm not going to go into details about each particular type of rollup, but the most common or easily understood are rollups. And in rollups, this is how they work. Basically, transactions happen off of the main Ethereum blockchain, and at a certain point in time, the transactions are bundled up into a single transaction, which is then posted onto Ethereum, thus saving on gas and keeping everything running fast. And at this stage, we don't know what mechanism Shibarium is going to be. but I'm kind of hoping for a roll-up. Okay, let's do an example. One layer 2 which I'm going to use for my example is Immutable X, since this is one I've actually used before and I've used it fairly regularly. And I also believe that they use ZK Rollups or Validium. And this is their blockchain explorer called Immutascan. This is pretty much their equivalent of Etherscan. And every layer 2 solution has to have one of these, and so will Shibarium. What I do like about this L2 is that it clearly shows a nice snapshot of all the big activity which happens on it, and that's not particularly common with a lot of blockchain explorers, at least not presented in this way. There's also an L2 which specializes in NFTs and blockchain games, so you get to see a list of their top performers over here, and you also get to see a schedule which shows all the volume each particular project does, aged by 7 days, 30 days, and 90 days. And if I scroll down over here, you also see a list of typically minute-by-minute transactions, which are broken down just like you would be familiar on Etherscan. And here's the important part. Each of these projects are actually completely different independent projects. And this is where I imagine the future of Shibarium is going to end up. And I mean Shibarium will have its own, Shiba Inu ecosystem projects, as well as several other tokens and projects, doing everything from decentralized exchanges, games, metaverses, projects, NFTs, real world businesses, etc. Example here, you can see there's a swap as well. This one is a game. Some of you guys are familiar with Illuvium. That one is a game as well. This one here looks to be an NFT sort of platform. So I do see that I like this because it helps you visualize what I think the potential of Shibarium would be like. And to help you visualize this, I also transformed this into this, which is my mock-up of a Shibarium Explorer. And ta-da! Yeah, I know guys, I had a lot of time on my hands, it looks like. Anyway, I've listed most of the things which I know are currently part of the Shiba Inu ecosystem, and a few community ones as well. I do imagine that Shiba Swap, in this model, would typically appear on the top since it has the most volume, and eventually Shib the metaverse when they come onto Shibarium. Shiba Eternity, the blockchain version, and any land sales which happen for the metaverse, I'll put that here. Wellies, I've put it as Wellies Global, assuming that it becomes a global franchise, and this is just a summary of all the typical transactions which happen on stores all around the world. And Porzone, then my good friend JD's updates. You guys probably know of Porzone. I still have to do a video about that. There's another person called Shib Superstore. You guys may have heard of this. And we also have John Richmond. So this is just typically summarizes the kind of activity which we expect to see in a future basis, but typically with obviously lots of volume and corresponding SHIB burns. Anyway, I do imagine that in the first 6 months, some of these Shiba Inu projects will be the top performers, particularly ShibaSwap 2.0, as I mentioned before. And the thing is that all this activity which you see over here, it'll have a direct impact on Shiba Inu ecosystem tokens, especially on SHIB and BONE tokens, particularly because BONE is the gas token of Shibarium, and SHIB tokens are going to be burnt with each and every transaction, whether it be gaming transactions or token swaps. And guys, this is pretty much the utility which we've been waiting for in the ecosystem. And to me, this will officially shed SHIB's meme status, which it's had for a while, and it'll massively increase Shiba Inu's value proposition, in my opinion. But one thing which I can't answer specifically at the moment is what will the gas fees be, or what will the SHIB token burn percentage be? But I can show you this particular list of typical fees which are paid by L2s, and the general consensus is that almost always universally the fees are about a few cents, and in some cases even less than a cent, depending on the type of transaction. For example, Loop Ring and ZK Sync, to send ETH, it's less than a cent. To swap tokens and any other more complex transactions, it's starting from 2 cents all the way up to 40 cents, based on that. And Optimism has 2 cents and 4 cents for swapping tokens. So typically, if we remain industry standard, you're looking at really cheap gas fees and transaction fees as well. And as for the burns, I personally see two possible scenarios. One scenario where users may be required to hold both Bone token and Shib token, and then Bone token will be used for gas, whilst a certain percentage of the Shib which you hold will be burnt, probably depending on the transaction, type or volume. And this is going to have the effect of increasing demand on both tokens, and their corresponding prices should also go up. And especially Shib, because any casual user would have to buy Shib and then also burn it, and that's like a double effect. And the second option which I see is where only Bone token is required, but at the transaction level a portion of that Bone token is used for gas, and then another portion is converted into Shib and burnt all in one transaction. And this would mean that people wouldn't have to worry about using their current Shib tokens, but then Shiba Inu still benefits from the burn, which will happen, in the background. Anyway, using this method would require a bit more Bone token, and if this happens, I do believe that this would drive up the the price of Bone tokens by quite a bit. But either way, I think either method would generally be good. They may even put it up to a vote. So basically, to wrap everything up, I do think that the best way for Shibarium to be a success is to get as many projects running on it as possible, especially really high quality projects which will bring a lot of high volume transactions, because that's the reason I think the Wellies model is pretty good, because things like burgers, they make daily transactions, and if there's going to be many franchises, that just means there's more potential for Shib burns. And obviously that drives up the price. We'll also need to be able to get as much liquidity as possible onto ShibaSwap, and I would suggest that if you're part of any Ethereum based community, to get either developers or other community members to set up liquidity pools on ShibaSwap, so that people can save on fees, because most of us own other Ethereum based tokens, so that could be something we could look into doing, because that might be important, particularly during a bull run. And the same thing with NFT projects, if you're part of those as well, we need to try and get people to move onto Shibarium, as well. And also when we make any other Web3 type services like, real world markets, like Wellies. And I think that is it for my Shibarium video, guys. I really apologize. I did not intend on going this long, but I'm interested to know. Let me know in the comments section. What would you guys prefer at a transaction level in Shibarium? Would you rather it be you have both Shib and Bone, and then or would you rather just to hold Bone token and then let some mechanism do the swapping and Shib burning in the background? Anyway, guys, these are just my opinions, and as we don't have any details yet. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you like the way I cover the Shiba Inu ecosystem, the best way you can continue to support this channel is by simply hitting the like button and also leaving a comment. Once again, thank you so much for watching, everyone. This is Ace. Peace.